From homeless to millionaire, the story of a black maid, babysitter, and poor woman. Harper Evans stood in the shadow of the towering glass building that stretched into the gray Chicago sky like a razor's edge. She gripped her crumpled resume so tight her fingers trembled. The busy street pulsed around her, honking cars, shouted orders, the clatter of footsteps, but none of it reached inside her chest. Only the pounding of a heart that refused to calm down. 10 minutes late for the most important interview of her life. No fancy suit, no polished shoes, just a stained cardigan over a faded dress, threadbare but clean. The sticky weight of exhaustion sat on her shoulders, dragging her down like sinking quicksand. For weeks, she'd been bouncing between shelters and scrappy temp jobs as a maid and babysitter. No one ever looked twice. But today, Harper was a storm waiting to break. Inside Collins & Coer, the air was cold with sterile power. Polished floors reflected endless fluorescence. Murmurs rippled like thunder. One intern whispered, "Did she just say she cleaned toilets for cash?" At the end of the hall, the door to Arthur Collins's office yawned open. The man behind it was a living legend, brooding, distant, a king in his glass castle. His eyes were sharp, cutting through pretense like knives. When Harper's shaky voice met his, she barely recognized herself. Words spilled out awkwardly, unscripted, a raw honesty nobody expected. Arthur's eyebrow twitched. The silence stretched, thick as fog. Then something shifted. The mask of cold indifference cracked. In that silence, a spark ignited. Harper spoke of ideas no one in that room dared to mention. Radical changes, blurred lines between risk and safety, a vision stirred by hardship, not training. Whispers turned to silent disbelief. This cleaning lady, this latecomer, had sliced through their sterile walls with something fierce and real. Arthur frowned, debating his unyielding standards. Could this discarded, overlooked woman shake the foundations of his empire? From the shadows, eyes narrowed, jealous glances, muttered warnings. The kindling of corporate warfare. Still, Arthur's distant stare softened, drawn in by Harper's wild spark, a glow bright enough to pull him from his lonely throne. But the path ahead was riddled with danger. Rivalries sharpened knives behind closed doors. The fragile bond between the two stood on a ledge above a churning storm. Harper's hands shook with the weight of their scrutiny. Yet inside the turmoil, hope flared, a chance to change everything. What would happen when ambition and jealousy collided? Could a woman with nothing but courage rewrite her fate? And could Arthur, the man who ruled with iron will, learn to bend? That answer hung in the air, heavy and unsaid, as the glass doors closed behind her. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, hit that powerful like button. It really helps with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Harper turned away from the glass doors, heart racing. The world beyond felt muted. Inside, tension hummed like electricity. Arthur's gaze lingered on her. Curiosity mingled with skepticism. She fought to steady her breath, her palms slick against the paper of her resume. "Miss Evans?" he began, but a loud crash interrupted. The office trembled as the glass door flew. A figure stumbled inside, panic etched across his face. It was Mark, the office intern, sweat glistening on his forehead. The color drained from his face as he gasped. "A shooting! Outside! A man with a gun! They're telling everyone to get down!" "What?" Harper felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Fear spread through the office like wildfire. Gasps echoed off the polished walls. Her heart raced, no longer just from nerves. The reality crashed down, hard. She glimpsed Arthur's expression. His previous aloofness evaporated, replaced by an urgent, raw fear. Then chaos broke loose. People ducked low, some scrambled under desks. Others shielded their heads with their arms. Harper's chest tightened. Her instinct screamed to run, but she froze. Terror paralyzing her limbs, wrenching the air from her lungs. She turned to Arthur. Were they all going to die here? "Stay calm. Stay low," Arthur shouted, his voice powerful, cutting through the panic. He took charge, pushing people back, guiding them to make space, directing them away from the windows. Harper watched, admiration threading through her fear. But then, something unexpected twisted inside her. This was the man who judged her, the man who stood aloof, watching from his throne. And yet, here he was, risking his life to protect them. The tension shifted. Suddenly, he looked at her, eyes sharp with clarity, yet something dark clouded his gaze. "You, get everyone back!" His voice came out harsh, demanding. It tore through Harper, fueling her adrenaline. She hated that it felt natural to follow his command, to stand taller in this chaos. Another loud bang echoed, and Harper flinched, heart pounding in time with the chaos surrounding them. "Do you trust me?" Arthur's voice cut through the noise, stepping closer. She wanted to say yes, to believe him, but the doubt clawed at her. Before she could answer, Arthur turned and sprinted to close the door, blocking the entry. Desperation echoed in silence, hearts racing together. Terror blurred into confusion. What was happening? What did he know? In the weighty quiet, Mark's voice broke through. "There's something else," he stumbled, eyes wide. "I overheard Arthur on a call." "What are you talking about?" Harper's voice shook. He's involved in what's happening outside. The words crumbled against the weight of realization. Harper's stomach dropped. Anger and betrayal surged within her. She felt lightheaded, like the ground had disappeared. The man she had been drawn to? Could he really be tied to this chaos? The truth wrapped around her like a chokehold. "Just get everyone out." Arthur snapped at Mark, but the energy shifted. Eyes swung between Harper and Arthur, confusion swirling, the tension heart-stopping. Could everything Harper had fought for, every breakthrough, every dream, be part of this tangled web? The fear of the moment washed over her. Behind Arthur's fierce facade, what secrets lay hidden? The pounding in her chest echoed louder, drowning out the chaos. In this moment of shock and desperation, truth hung heavy and unspoken. What was real and what was deception? And could she trust him, or was he the very danger they feared? As she met Arthur's gaze, everything shifted once more, from hope to doubt. The air crackled with unanswered questions. As she met Arthur's gaze, everything shifted once more, from hope to doubt. The air crackled with unanswered questions. Harper's heart pounded like a drum in chaos. What was real? What was deception? Did she trust him, or was he the danger? Suddenly, the loud bang of the door jolted their attention. From the entry, another figure barreled in, a woman, breathless and wild-eyed. It was Eva, one of the office's high-ranking executives. Her hair was disheveled, her blouse stained with spilled coffee and fear. "Arthur!" she screamed, voice laced with panic. "It's serious. They're looking for you." Scholars talked about corporate loyalty, but right now, all Harper heard was betrayal. Eva's words cut deep, slicing through the air like a hot knife. "They know what you've done." "What are you talking about?" Arthur roared, his voice booming against the din of scattered chaos. The room held its breath, all eyes darting from Eva to Arthur, tension crackling like static electricity. "Don't play stupid," Eva shot back, her hands trembling. "You think you can hide? You've got mess on your hands, dangerous mess. They'll make you pay." Harper's stomach twisted. A web of suspicion began to spin in her mind, tightening around her thoughts. Questions crowded in. What did Arthur do? What mess? She watched as his face paled, the mask of confidence slipping. "Get out, now," Arthur demanded, but Eva stood firm, eyes blazing with righteous fury. "You think you can just walk away? You took us all into this. You've got to face the music. No more hiding." Whispers erupted, fear shaping the crowd's reaction. People huddled closer, whispers like rustling leaves. Is he a criminal? What has he done? Harper's heart raced with betrayal and disbelief. Could this man really be someone she couldn't trust? Another bang echoed outside, sharper, louder. The tension suffocated. "They're coming, Arthur!" Eva cried, voice rising in urgency. "You need to act, now!" Panic tightened its grip around Harper's chest as Arthur's confusion morphed into rage. "You're after me? You've got no proof. I built this from nothing." His voice cracked with emotion, revealing fragments of vulnerability she hadn't seen before. A lump formed in Harper's throat. Everything she thought she knew slipped away. Could he really be involved in something sinister? The man who had ignited her hope? Could he be a criminal? A deceiver? The air felt thick and heavy, pressing in on her. Mark's voice buzzed in the background. "What's happening? What mess?" His eyes darted between the two, disbelief etched on his face. "Stop!" shouted Arthur, grasping Harper's arm suddenly. "I need your help." "You can't believe her." Harper's breath hitched, every ounce of trust she momentarily found crumbling. "But you, please." His eyes locked onto hers, raw desperation pooling within. "They'll pin this on me. I didn't mean for it to happen. You have to listen." But before she could respond, another loud bang reverberated through the building, this time accompanied by the wailing of sirens closing in. All thoughts scattered as fear took hold. What was happening? Who was the real Arthur? A man ensnared in his own lies, or a victim of circumstances beyond control? And did she dare to engage with the man holding her fate? As the chaos continued to swirl, uncertainty coiled tighter around her. In this torrent of confusion and fear, who could she trust? The blaring sirens rang out, cutting through the haze like a warning shot across their turbulent lives. The truth seemed dangerously close, but so did the danger. What would happen next? The questions hung in the air, heavy and electrified, waiting for someone to answer them. The air thickened with uncertainty. Harper's thoughts raced. Who was the real Arthur? What was his connection to this chaos? Eva's voice sliced through her internal turmoil. "They know what you've done." Outside, sirens wailed louder. The world beyond the glass seemed like a distant nightmare. Arthur's grip tightened on her arm. "Listen to me. It's not what you think. His eyes burned with desperation, swirling emotions she hadn't seen before. Another loud bang. The office vibrated. Harper's heart sank. Fear slithered into her gut like poison. Dark shadows gathered in her mind. Was he really a criminal? Or was he caught in something much bigger? Then time slowed. The ground shook violently. Fear seized everyone in that room, bodies locking like statues. The walls rattled, and a screech pierced through the chaos. Suddenly, the glass windows shattered, sending shards cascading like confetti. Screams erupted. Glass rained down. A masked figure burst through the door, gun drawn, eyes wild. "Down! Everyone down!" A male voice roared, filled with fury, thick with menace. He stormed in, chaos chasing him. Time stopped. The room froze. Harper's breath caught in her throat. Her heart pounded like a freight train. The world narrowed to the figure before her. The masked intruder was Hugh for Arthur. There was no mistaking it. "Arthur Collins, get up! I know you're in here." Panic rose like bile in her throat. Arthur moved, every muscle coiled like a spring. "No!" he shouted, stepping toward the intruder. "You don't understand." "Shut up!" the intruder bellowed, pointing the weapon menacingly. Faces turned ashen. Mark's terrified whisper echoed. "Is this a robbery? Are we going to die?" Harper felt she was falling, spiraling into a nightmare. Her body trembled. Fear constricted her chest. Then she saw it. A glint of something in the intruder's hand. A switchblade, not just a gun. "You think you can run from us? You think we'd let you? Who sent you?" Arthur demanded, voice shaky but firm. But before the figure could respond, something unthinkable happened. The lights flickered and plunged the room into darkness. A terrible Arthur ducked low, melting into the shadows, his expression morphing from fierce to fearful. "I didn't want this," he shouted just before the room erupted with noise. Shouts and cries, fear spilling over like a broken dam. Harper's eyes widened. She felt the weight of betrayal again. "You led them here." The accusation burned in her throat, but her voice barely made it out. Just then, a flash. A loud bang ricocheted through the office. A shot was fired. Harper gasped, instinctively ducking. She couldn't believe what was happening. As the smoke began to clear, there was Arthur, pinned to the ground. One figure stood over him. And then, the unthinkable. The second figure pulled off their mask, revealing a familiar face. "Eva?" Harper's breath escaped her, a whisper of shock. But Eva wore a smirk that twisted the knife deeper. "Did you really think I'd let you ruin everything?" she said, her voice dripping with venom. "This was never about you, Arthur. This was about power." The world spun. Arthur glanced up, eyes wide. "What did you do?" Her heart raced faster than ever. This was a setup. Everything turned dark. Trust shattered in an instant. Could this be real? Could the woman who had so fiercely confronted Arthur really be the orchestrator behind all this? As the chaos roared around her, she began to realize the true danger wasn't just outside. It was hidden in plain sight. What other secrets lurked in the shadows? And would either of them survive the truth? Harper's heart raced as the world spun. Eva's smirk twisted in the dim office light. The terrifying figure looming over Arthur cast an ominous shadow over everything she had hoped for. Betrayal cut deeper than any bullet could, and she felt its cold grip close around her throat. This was not just chaos. It was a carefully crafted trap. "Eva, stop!" Arthur shouted, his eyes wild with fear. "You can't do this!" But the words bounced off the walls like spent shells. Eva's laughter rang hollow, a sound that felt twisted and wrong. "Oh, Arthur, you think you can just walk away? You've played with fire, and now it's time to see the flames consume you." Tension coiled in the air. Harper's heart pounded, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She couldn't allow this to happen. Arthur was just a man caught in a storm, right? But what if he had started the fire? Behind them, the office trembled. Half-dazed employees were frozen. Fear transformed their faces into masks of terror, wide eyes locked on the intruder. She could practically feel their hearts thundering with dread. Then, as if summoned by their fear, the front door burst open again. Another figure rushed in, pulse racing with urgency. "Get down!" a strong voice commanded. But it was someone different, someone familiar. Harper squinted through the chaos. It was Chris, their fire safety officer, and her breath hitched with hope. "Everyone out, now!" Chris shouted, authority piercing through the panic. But Eva only laughed again. "You think you can save them? You're too late." Her eyes glinted with a dark thrill. And then, the unthinkable happened. Chris raised his arms, holding a badge. "This is an emergency. I will take charge here." But then his gaze flitted to the windows behind Arthur, and a terrifying realization crossed his face. "Stand down!" He screamed just as the glass frame exploded, shards flying everywhere. Instinctively, Harper ducked, but not before the scene around her shifted again. A sharp command echoed from outside, loud and clear. "Police, everyone stay where you are." The office erupted into utter chaos. A flood of officers rushed in, all equipped, shouting orders. The masked intruder froze, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Drop your weapon," an officer yelled, aiming his gun at the figure. Harper's breath caught. Everything she thought she understood twisted into a knot. The intruder hesitated. In that moment, reality seemed to pause. But then, Chris lunged forward. He exchanged a look with Arthur, something unspoken crackling in the air. "Get back, Harper," he shouted, pushing her behind him. No, she needed to understand. Yet just then something else unraveled. Chris pulled off his uniform jacket, revealing a second layer, tactical gear. "I knew you'd screw this up, Arthur. You always do." A sharpness crept into his voice, biting, cutting through the noise. The room fell silent. Eyes darted between Chris and Arthur, confusion painted on their faces. What was happening? "Wait, you're in on this?" Harper gasped, shock crashing over her like a wave. She blinked, struggling to grasp the truth. "Not in on it, controlling it," Chris spat, desperation in each word. "I was waiting for the right moment to take you down. You thought you could just play boss and ruin everything." Anger siphoned through him, palpable and fierce. Harper stumbled back, heart racing. The ground beneath her felt unstable. Was Chris really a puppet master, weaving this twisted web? Was Arthur just a pawn, ensnared in a game he had never intended to play? As the police moved in, tension surged. Shouted commands mixed with cries of anguish. The atmosphere crackled. Danger loomed, a sharp edge waiting to slice through their lives. Time warped. Confusion churned. Trust shattered around Harper like glass. And in that whirlwind of chaos and uncertainty, who was the real enemy? Chris? Arthur? Or a game far bigger than any of them? Her heart raced, eyes locked on the growing storm. Nothing would ever be the same again. What layers of deceit had she yet to unearth? What truths lay buried beneath the surface? Desperation tightened its grip as the sirens blared outside, warning her that they were all just pieces in a game, and the next move could cost them everything. Harper felt the world constrict around her, a vice tightening at her chest. Confusion whirled, mixing with fear. Was Chris really the orchestrator of this nightmare? Could he have manipulated Arthur, turning their lives into a game? The air, electric, chaos crackling like a live wire. Arthur's eyes darted around, searching for an escape. "You don't understand. It was out of my control." His voice trembled, raw desperation leaking through each syllable. But Chris only sneered. "Control? You lost that the moment you decided to play with dangerous people." Sirens blared outside, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. Tension squeezed like a noose, and something shifted. Then it happened. A piercing bang cut through the chaos. Another figure emerged from the shadows, their presence seemingly hallowing the room. It was a woman, her face obscured with a mask, but the glint of familiarity sparked recognition within Harper. Her pulse quickened. Adrenaline surged. "No way!" she breathed, eyes wide. The intruder stepped closer, curves hidden beneath tactical gear. The mask came off, revealing not just any face, but Savannah, Harper's old friend from the shelter, the woman who had shared whispered dreams and endless nights of survival. "Savannah!" Harper gasped, disbelief choking her. Savannah's eyes met hers, full of turbulence. "It's time, Harper. You need to choose sides." The broken pieces of the chaotic scene faded to a dull roar, her voice sharp and clear, like a beacon. "What are you talking about?" Harper's heart raced, mind whirling. "You're with them?" "I'm with whoever gets us out of here alive," Savannah yelled, glancing at the door. "This was never just about you, Arthur. It's about all of us." Harper trembled, confusion wrestling with familiarity. Memories crashed over her, good nights of laughter and hard days of struggle. But now Savannah stood here, weapon drawn, willing to turn their friendship into a weapon. "What have you done?" Arthur's voice broke through, laced with rage and betrayal. "Is this part of your plan?" Savannah stepped forward, defiant. "You made your choices, Arthur. Now you'll pay." Chris lurked in the shadows, eyes flicking between the two women. "Enough!" he bellowed suddenly, stepping closer, his expression shifting to something darker. "This little party won't end well for anyone unless we've got a plan." "What plan?" Savannah scoffed. "Your plans brought nothing but ruin. It's time for real power." Just then, the air shifted once more, cold dread settling in Harper's bones. The door burst open again. Another wave of officers surged in, weapons raised. One stepped forward, his badge gleaming in a stray beam of light, and her heart nearly sank. "Detective Harvey?" Harper's voice barely escaped. The man who had once promised to help, to shelter, now glared at her, as if she were a phantom of his darkest nightmares. "Harper Evans," he said sharply, eyes hard. "You're caught in something you can't escape. You need to step back." The room bristled with tension, voices colliding. "No," Arthur shouted, reaching for Harper, panic clear in his eyes, desperation clawing at him like claws. "Get away from her!" But the bonds of what should have been loyalty twisted and blurred, and Harper's heart raced with a mix of fear and betrayal. She turned to Savannah, then to Arthur, reality shaking loose like sand beneath her feet. What had once been so clear, trust, friendship, desire, now spun in a cyclone of mistrust. Whispers erupted again, confusion ripping through the air. "Harper!" Chris's voice broke through once more, urgency coding every word. It's not just about survival. It's revenge. Revenge? The word echoed painfully, wrapping around her soul. She swallowed hard, a lump forming in her throat. Suddenly, pieces of the puzzle began to fit. What did Savannah know? What had Chris planned? Did Arthur really play a part in this game of deceit and danger? Outside, sirens wailed, drawing close. In this moment of visceral reality, Harper felt everything shift. The room collapsed in upon itself, and her very sense of identity quaked. Who could she trust? More importantly, could she trust herself to make the right choice? Every heart in the room raced. The next seconds held the weight of impossible decisions. The chaos spun faster than her mind could follow. And the real question loomed. What would happen when the last card fell? The air froze. Harper's heart pounded like a drum. Confusion wrapped around her, squeezing tighter with every moment. As Detective Harvey stood in front of her, the weight of his statement loomed large. Could she really trust him, or was he part of the trap? Savannah, Harper, we don't have time for games. We need to choose. Then everything shifted. An unexpected roar ripped through the air. The lights flickered and dimmed. Then suddenly, blam! The wall behind them exploded, sending shards of concrete and dust everywhere. Screams filled the room. People dove for cover. Harper hit the ground, breath stolen away. The chaos erupted like a volcano. She scrambled to find Arthur's gaze, but he was gone. "Get down!" Chris shouted again, diving behind a shattered desk. The masked figures staggered back. Confusion etched across their faces. But the intrusion had an even greater effect on Arthur, who was nowhere to be seen. Then she spotted him. The figure slipping into the shadows of the office, a dark shape against the chaos. It hit her hard. The realization washed over her like ice water. "Arthur!" she called, fear clawing at her throat. But the gunman turned, taking aim. "Not so fast," he bellowed, voice filled with venom. The room shook with tension. What was happening? The line between truth and betrayal blurred even further. In that chaos, something strange flickered in her periphery. Her gaze locked on Savannah. There stood her old friend, but something had changed. The familiar warmth of their past friendship felt distant. And then Savannah stepped forward, weapon aimed straight at Arthur, who had just reemerged. "Savannah, what are you doing?" Harper's voice trembled, the words barely escaping her lips. Savannah's lips curled into a tight smile. "It's time to finish this, Harper. You should have seen it coming." Harper stumbled back, feeling the ground shift beneath her. "Finish what? You can't betray him like this." The betrayal surged like a tidal wave, crashing over every memory they'd shared. But the look in Savannah's eyes, fierce, unyielding, sent chills down Harper's spine. He deserves this. All of us, every single one of us, has been caught in his game. Then a shout erupted behind them. "Get away from him!" It was Detective Harvey again, lunging for Arthur, intent on capturing him. Panic rippled through the office. Who was really the threat here? And just as the tension reached a boiling point, another crash thundered from outside. The noise exploded into the air, loud enough to shake the foundations of the building. Sirens blared through the shattered windows, blinding lights illuminating the chaos. But in that flash of light, something astonishing happened. From the shadows, a figure emerged, older, weathered, yet strong. It was her mother, Anna. Harper's breath caught as disbelief clawed at her gut. Mom, what are you doing here? Harper, we need to go, now! Anna's voice cut through the chaos like a knife, urgency saturating her every word. What? You shouldn't be here! Harper shouted back, her heart spinning. But as Anna stepped further into the light, the truth staggered them all. The hardened expression on her face softened, revealing a hidden story of pain and sacrifice. "I'm here to protect you," she said, her voice steady. "But you have to trust me." The room went silent for a beat. Everyone paused. Could she trust her mother? Could she trust anyone? Then it hit like a freight train. With a single gesture, Anna pulled a small device from her pocket and pressed a button. The walls vibrated around them. The sound of alarms blared, drowning out the voices. The fear. "I've only got one shot," Anna said, as the ground trembled, lights flickering. "We have to move, all of us." Everything peeled back like layers of paint. Memories shattered into fragments. Every heart in the room beat wildly. What was Anna hiding? How deep did the betrayal run? The lines were drawn, alliances shifting like sand in a storm. Would anyone make it out alive? The question hung heavy in the air, and just like that, Harper realized nothing would ever be the same again. Harper's heart raced, the weight of her mother's words hanging in the air like a cloud of smoke. "We need to go, now!" Anna's urgency was palpable. The chaos swirled around them, voices rising, panic igniting a fire of fear in everyone's gut. But before anyone could move, the sound of boots thundered against the ground outside. Officers pushed against the tide of chaos, and the lights flickered again, barely illuminating the crumbling scene. Harper felt sweat trickling down her back. "What are they doing? We need an exit." "Stay down." Chris's voice broke like thunder, pulling her back from the edge of panic. But Harper felt the room shrink, walls closing in with every breath. The atmosphere thickened with tension. Eva clutched her weapon tighter, eyes darting between Savannah and Arthur. "I will not let him leave," she roared. Savannah's expression hardened. "You think this is just about you, Eva? Just about revenge?" Another explosion followed, a nearby window shattering, sending fragments flying. A shriek echoed. The crowd surged. Fear gripped Harper's heart. What's happening? In that moment, another figure burst through the door. This time, it was a man, tall and imposing. His mere presence sucked the air from the room. Dark hair swept back, eyes steely and focused. He was familiar, though she couldn't place the memory. "Step away from him." His voice cut like glass, straight to the core of the room's tension. "What?" Harper breathed, frozen in place. "Who was he?" "Get down," detective shouted, weapons drawn. But the man moved swiftly, eyes locked on Arthur. "What did you do?" The stranger's voice trembled with barely contained rage. Arthur flinched. Recognition flashed across his face, twisted in horror. "You know him?" Harper gasped. "Of course I do. That's my brother." Arthur's voice cracked, emotions spilling over. Shock rippled through the group. Arthur had a brother? What other secrets lay hidden beneath the fractured surface of their lives? Harper's chest tightened, pieces of their shared story crumbling away. The tension surged like a wave, drowning all other sounds. "He's not the enemy," Arthur yelled, voice raw. "You don't understand." "Not the enemy?" The brother, fists clenched, stepped closer, eyes blazing. "Do you have any idea what you've dragged us into?" Before anyone could react, Anna pressed a button on the device. The alarms wailed louder, vibrating through their bones. The lights flickered more violently, casting eerie shadows against the crumbling walls. "You don't get to make decisions for me," Arthur shouted, desperation pouring from his voice. But that didn't matter. The brother lunged toward him, driven by fury. "You ruined everything. You always ruin everything." Time slowed. The crowd held its breath. A scream erupted from the terrified employees huddled, soon followed by a gunshot that rang out, reverberating through the chaos. Harper dropped to the floor, chest heaving, heart pounding. The room fell into a deafening silence, filled only by the sound of her own sharp gasps. Then it happened. The brother's body jerked, eyes wide, as he crumpled to the ground, blood pooling beneath him. What? No, this wasn't part of the plan. Blinking through shock, Harper felt the world tip on its axis. And just like that, everything twisted. Every friendship, every vow of loyalty, teetered on the brink of chaos. Or was he just as trapped as she was? Harper's breath hitched. Could it be true? The narrative just shifted. The chaos echoed all around, amplifying the disbelief that gripped her heart. Questions bombarded her mind. Would they all make it out alive? Who could she trust now? Was anyone truly innocent in this twisted game? Suddenly, Detective Harvey stepped forward, ignoring the fallen figure. "We need to control the scene." His voice was hard, unwavering. But as she locked eyes with Arthur through the cloud of confusion, so many unknowns blurred together. The truth had become an abyss. Where was the exit? Would they ever escape? The air crackled with uncertainty. The stakes had escalated, pulling her deeper into a murky web of danger. Everything they believed was now shattered like glass. And in that chaos, she realized trust was a dangerous game, and secrets run deeper than she ever imagined. What lay ahead? That question hung heavy in the fray, as the room filled with the weight of breathless anticipation. The air crackled as the room plunged into stunned silence. Harper's heart raced. She could hardly breathe. The weight of betrayal hung thick, suffocating her. The brother lying motionless on the floor, a pool of blood spreading beneath him. Time seemed to freeze, suspended in disbelief. "Someone call for help," a voice shouted, the chaotic reality crashing back into focus. But then, a loud crack echoed, sharper than glass, breaking the tension. All heads snapped to the window as another figure emerged from the darkness outside, masked, dark clothes, moving with unsettling speed, hands clasped around an ominous weapon, glinting in the erratic light. "Get down, now!" the stranger barked, voice heavy with authority, taking control of the chaotic scene. Harper instinctively ducked, heart hammering in her chest. The gray walls, once so sterile, now felt like they were closing in, squeezing the last breath from her lungs. She glanced at Arthur. He seemed to shrink against the chaos, his defiance faltering. "Who are you?" he shouted, voice taut with fear. "Your reckoning has arrived." The figure laughed, a low, menacing sound that chilled Harper to her core. Suddenly, the masked intruder pulled down the mask, revealing a familiar face. Tim, the receptionist from Collins and Company. Her heart clenched. What was he doing here? "Tim?" she whispered incredulously. "What's going on?" His eyes bore into hers, a strange mix of anger and something darker. "You have no idea how deep this goes." He turned to the crowd, his voice rising. "This is bigger than any of you. You've all been pawns in a game, and now it's time to face the consequences." Chaos erupted again. Employees shrieked, pushing against each other, desperate to escape. Harper's pulse quickened. The walls felt alive, throbbing with dread. "Stop!" Anna shouted, stepping forward in defiance. "You'll get us all killed!" But Tim merely smirked, hands raised in mock surrender. "You don't think I care about that?" "Enough!" Harvey yelled, stepping forward, hand on his weapon, eyes darting between Tim and Arthur. "We're not going to let this escalate." But as he moved closer, something shifted in Tim's intensity. "You're the fool, detective," he snarled. "This whole operation is going down today. Every last one of you. Complicit, blind." Harper felt her stomach drop. What was he saying? The reality twisted, layers peeling back, revealing a network of deceit threading through every moment they shared. Was this all a setup? "What are you talking about?" Harper gasped. "You can't just—" Before she could finish, a loud bang echoed through the room, cutting her off. Shouts erupted. The door burst open again, and in charged officers, weapons drawn, faces grim and tense. There was no way out now. "Everyone on the ground," an officer barked. Panic swept the room. Harper's breath caught. Chaos ensued as people fell to the floor, screaming as confusion swirled faster. But then, just as quickly as it had started, every sound swallowed into an eerie silence. A tense hush fell over the chaos. Eyes turned to Tim, confusion plastered across every face. "Don't you see?" he said, voice low yet piercing. "This extends beyond this building. Those who pulled the strings—" But before he could continue, the lights flickered, then went black. A ripple of fear surged through the crowd, bodies freezing mid-motion. In that moment of darkness, a voice pierced the silence, clear and unyielding. "This was all part of the plan, Tim. You're too late." The lights flickered back on. In disbelief, Harper blinked. Standing amidst the chaos was Eva. Alive, unscathed. But it wasn't just her that made Harper's heart seize. It was the glint of a gun in her hand, steady and poised, aimed right at Tim. "No," Harper whispered, breath hitching in her throat. The room fell into primordial confusion, and she felt every heart race in synchronization with her own. "Eva, you?" Arthur's voice trembled, dread coating every word. A hollow smile stretched across her face. "You thought the game was over? We're just getting started." Everything twisted again, secrets woven deep, layers of loyalty unfurling like a nightmare. The ultimate betrayal stood before them. Nothing had ever made sense. Harper's chest tightened. Her world spun as memories threatened to crash like waves against jagged rocks. "Where do we go from here?" she whispered, realizing the truth. Their lives had become a battlefield of hidden agendas and secrets, and she didn't know who to trust anymore. As the tension filled the room, unanswered questions hung heavy in the air. What would happen next? Harper's heart raced as the tension in the room crested like a wave ready to crash. Eva stood in the center, weapon poised, eyes gleaming with determination, while Tim's expression twisted into a scowl of contempt. "It isn't a game anymore, Eva," he shouted. "You don't control this." The chaos erupted. Voices blended into a cacophony of panic. "Get down! Get out!" The officers shouted commands, their presence filling the room with a heavy authority. Harper felt her breath hitch as bodies collided in terror. The stark reality of their situation started to sink in. But then a slight movement caught Harper's eye. Arthur, with a desperate look in his eyes, stepped closer to her, reaching out. "Harper, listen to me." His voice was raw, desperate. She felt the weight of his fear, translating the chaos around them. "You have to trust me. Trust you? She gasped, every word clawing its way out of her throat. You've done nothing but betray us. Just give me a chance, he pleaded, his expression shifting from anger to desperation. I can end this, but we need to work together. In that moment, something shifted within Harper. Was he really sincere? Or was this just another layer in a twisted game? Doubt gnawed at her insides as she looked around, feeling the overwhelming presence of fear cascading through the room. Eva snarled, "Enough! This is my chance to take control." She aimed her weapon again at Tim. "You think I'll let you walk away? You've used all of us." "Eva!" Harper's voice soared above the chaos, filled with a newfound strength. "This isn't just about you anymore." The words hung in the air, drawing every eye. For a brief moment, silence fell. Faces turned toward her, confusion etched across every expression. "If we keep fighting among ourselves, we'll all end up losing," Harper shouted, the energy in her voice breaking through the tension. "Tim, Eva, this needs to stop. We can't solve this with violence." Tim hesitated, the fight in his eyes flickering. "And what do you propose? A discussion? We've been double-crossed." "Don't you see?" Harper pressed on, desperation fueling her voice. "We can work together. If we focus on the real enemy outside, we just might survive this." Eva's resolve faltered for a moment, the tension in her grip loosening. "Listen to her!" Arthur shouted, stepping closer, intensity sparking in his eyes. "If we band together now, we stand a chance against whoever is playing us against each other." "Forget about them," Tim shouted back. "They'll play you against me." Just then, a sound crackled through the chaos, the unmistakable sound of sirens growing louder outside. "Please," Harper shouted, voice cracking with emotion. "We can't waste another second. They're here for all of us, and in this moment, no one is safe." Tension hung, brimming with anticipation. Another voice broke through. Detective Harvey, firm and calm, aimed at the group. "If we all put down our weapons, we might just stand a chance at figuring this out." Slowly, the silence rippled, like a breeze through a still forest, as Eva's weapon lowered. Tim followed suit, uncertainty etched on his face. "This isn't over," he mouthed, stepping back reluctantly. One by one, hands relaxed, facing that common thread of hope. "United, we can find a way out," Harper urged, determination blossoming in her chest. Yet uncertainty still lingered. Outside, the sirens roared, casting shadows through shattered windows. It felt like an end, but also the start of something new. Clarity flickered within the chaos. The group cautiously edged toward the exit, each step filled with apprehension. As they passed the body on the ground, fear swallowed them again. Was this truly the end? As they stepped out, the world beyond pulsed with flashing lights and shouts from officers, a bleak remnant. "Hold on," Arthur spoke quietly to Harper as they navigated the thrumming chaos, uncertainty mirrored in his eyes. "This was just a battle, but the fight isn't over." Harper nodded, heart swelling with fragile hope as they faced the unknown, unresolved tensions rising again. But for now, together, they stepped into the light, torn between uncertainty and strength, ready to confront whatever was waiting beyond their shattered sanctuary. Thanks for joining us for this wild ride. If you want to find out what happens next, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this community thriving. Flood that comment section with your thoughts and theories. We want to see how you react to this ending, and don't wait another second to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support matters.